Well, a massive thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this episode of Lakeside Drive. You can go to nordvpn.com/Lakeside Drive right now, and you will get a heavily discounted rate on a 2-year plan. Plus, you'll get 4 months free just for signing up using Lakeside Drive. So go to nordvpn.com/Lakeside Drive to get access to that offer, and you'll experience absolute privacy online. There is so much peace of mind when you use NordVPN. Not only is it the fastest VPN in the world, you'll be able to easily move yourself all around the world to unlock region-locked content. So if you wanted to watch the Matildas absolutely dominate France in a penalty shootout, then you could have done that if you were sitting in the UK by watching 7+ here in Australia using NordVPN. You can also see what they've got in store for protecting passwords and files. There's so much more to NordVPN. Go to nordvpn.com/Lakeside Drive right now. And I'm joined by my friends and yours, Freya Brosman. G'day, Freya.
Hello, how are we all doing? It's been a while since we've had this combo.
Yes, a while, very long time, ever. Who knows? I don't remember it. Campy, welcome to you, mate.
Good morning. Hello, listener. It's a good trio of dips this morning, Freya, so that's nice.
Trio of dips.
Which dip are you? That's what I want to know, Campy.
Without offending a culture, which dip are you?
Tzatziki.
I'm going for like a roasted pepper with some like cashews in there. You know, you get that kind of yum. Can you tell it's dinner time here?
Is Campy's beanie the peanuts sprinkled on top of the hummus when you're opening the packet? Well, it's great to have your company, both of you. And it's great to have your company to listen. Welcome to a slightly new format of the show. Freya is going to be joining us for all of our preview and review episodes for the rest of the year, very excitingly. Of course, with the departure of He Who Shall Not Be Named, which I will never, ever give up that Harry Potter reference. Look, we're going to immediately dive into our Discord server. If you want to join the Discord and be part of our community, you can find a link in the description below, or go to our website and click the community button. We're going to go straight to our talk back segment, and I have asked the Discord for some bold predictions ahead of the Dutch Grand Prix. But let's start with some bold predictions from you both. Freya, have you got a bold prediction for me?
I know we're going to talk about actual predictions later, but my bold prediction is Hulkenberg on pole.
Oh.
I think he's going to continue his streak of having his one-lap brilliance and very little else going on for the rest of his weekend. And he's going to hold on to it, though, for at least 2.5 laps, at which point he will gradually let everybody by like the Haas that he is.
Bold prediction is Danny Rick is going to win in a rain-affected race this weekend. So there you go.
Okay, well, that's something that we can all get behind. Well, let's go across to the Discord now. Lisa Rue says Verstappen, Red Bull's last win before the winning streak is ended in Monza as the previous year's winner, is destined for a DNF. Normal programming will resume in Singapore. Ross, he says Verstappen to only win by 20 seconds. Yeah, that's true. It's been a big one.
Pretty bold.
Ross 00, different from normal Ross. Ross 00 says Sargent will get a point. Look, it's absolutely a potential, I suppose. LBS says Verstappen DNF, Hamilton wins. Well, that'll be interesting to see if Mercedes can make any kind of progress towards the front. Steamroller says Ferrari win because they'll get a strategy call correct and don't screw up their pit stops. That is a bold prediction. And Beefcake Mega, in the boldest prediction that is absolutely 100% chance of no success, is De Vries will get a point. Oh, no, he says 28 blood alcohol content DWI. He will get points against his license. So, very, very good. Mate. Very good from you. And I also have found a Discord comment of the week. Although there's been no traction on track, this one has absolutely done it. If you're aware of the F1 podcast, spelled EFFWON, Dax Shepard and friends do that podcast. They found out that there's this erotic fan fiction of Daniel Ricciardo, which is a whole thing, apparently. Dax, being friends with DR, sent him a voice note to say, hey, have you seen this? And anyway, there's a whole thing. It's actually quite funny listening to DR's live reaction as he discovers and starts reading some of this stuff. Anyway, Lisa Rue says there's another guy on it who's a hairdresser, and VB let him cut his hair. They have so many angles covered, maybe Campy can become a nail tech. Well, Campy,
thank you very
become
much.
a nail tech so we can have access to some drivers?
Look, the problem
Please tell me when we're talking about nails, we're talking about like actually hammering nails in, not anything to do with beautiful, talons.
Well,
it's the electrician way, of course.
I could do the nail and hammers, but if we were referring to fingernails, I can assure you that my mitts are a bit too big to be that small and delicate in order to get into the right places and make them beautiful. So, anyway, very nice.
Context incredibly important for that.
It would be quite funny.
Dax Shepard is going to put us all out of business when it comes to podcast world. Between Armchair Expert and F1, and I'm sure he's got 100 million others kind of that he's cooking away in his brain. And he does a brilliant job of them as well. Like, I know I probably shouldn't be saying please go listen to his other episodes, but he's entertaining. He's obviously got great relationships with a lot of these people, so he can get them on and get their reactions as he has in this situation. It just seems like an all-round legend. But, good luck to the rest of us, basically.
Yeah, it must be really hard to make friends considering the circles that you operate in and all of the production team that you have to edit all of your stuff together. Yeah, anyway, it is what it is. We also have in our Discord server a little cats and dogs and pets channel, which is Freya's favourite spot to be.
It is.
It's also Campy's favourite spot to be because there is a photo of him and his new dog Bonnie, which we recorded an episode last week, Campy. In fact, we recorded 2 episodes. We recorded the start of 1 episode, and Bonnie was so full on eating literally everything, all of the cords, the microphone, me, trying to focus. We had to restart it, but an incredibly cute photo of you both. Listener, if you want to go and see what Campy looks like a stunned mullet. There is, Freya, also a social comment of the week where I trawl F1's socials for my favourite place to be. Now, the mid-season break is always a difficult place to find content. Do you feel like people start to struggle towards the end as we get towards the next race to come up with original content?
Oh, definitely. Well, I don't think they're even trying to do original content anymore. It's, let's rank the drivers in various, rating systems which don't exist, or which driver has the best pet, which, to be fair, we also do with ours as well. I don't have a Bonnie, a gorgeous little dog. I do have a stray cat that we feed and comes every morning and every evening. We've called it Roger. I'm pretty sure it's a girl, and he's currently meowing at our front window, so I can't contribute to that conversation. And between that and their holiday activities and things like that, we're really scraping the barrel. But I completely agree with the find that you have highlighted here as our social comment of the week. It's pretty special.
Yeah, it is about some drivers coming into your DMs on Instagram. It's obviously fake, and George Russell one says, you wouldn't guess who I bumped into. Daniel Ricciardo, come find us. And _full stop WILJZH_, which is just one of those social media usernames, I suppose, says he's not the only driver George has bumped into. Jeez.
So good.
Just an absolute
so good.
Mega comment. If you want to get involved in our Discord server and be part of the show, go join it. It's a great place to watch the Grand Prix as well if you're not there. Campy is stuck in a time loop of getting in and out of this Riverside session, freezing and then leaving again. So we'll just keep going, Freya, and pretend like everything is fine. Let's move to F1 this week. There's been some movement, really just of drivers having some mid-season break fun.
Yeah, like I said, we are seeing a lot of it on social media. There's been a lot of partying in Ibiza. I'm just not cultural enough to be able to make sure I'm saying that correctly. But they're all over there. They're having a great time with Martin Garrix and various other DJs, which looks really hot, actually. I was about to say it looks really great, but actually it just looks really hot. So between that and people playing pickleball and jumping off boats, we also have our absolute favourite, VB, whose content, my favourite part about this is that he could literally be doing absolutely anything Anything in the world. If you wanted to go and find cold weather and go skiing, you could do that. If you wanted hot weather and be jumping off boats like everybody else, you could do that. If you wanted to just relax on a Caribbean island, I highly recommend Cayman. He could be doing literally whatever he wants. And what is he doing? He is dressed as Duffman, riding up a gravel bike race. Like, I just love that is what he has chosen to do when he can do literally anything. Sir, you win.
I'm not sure if you're aware. The only reason I have Facebook anymore is that there is a brilliant group that is F1 Simpsons memes, and I just reckon Tiffany Cromwell is part of that because it's mostly an Australian-based group. And I reckon she's just like, do you know what, VB, there's just so much content here. I know that we can activate like these 1,000 people who are just totally into it. It's also just a hilarious place to be. Again, the only reason I have Facebook, if you're not part of it, absolutely go and join it. It is hilarious.
I really enjoy that tinfoil idea that Tiffany's in there and feeding that content back to Valtteri to help craft their social media
100%.
ideas and stunts. That's so great. Yep. That's how tinfoil beanies should be used.
Exclusively. Why wouldn't you, though? The group is called Put It in MGUH, by the way, as an absolute mega Simpsons reference. There are 5,700 people. It is like this really unknown group in the Formula One world, and the content here is just, it's absolutely fantastic. But Mel Keegan in this group says, I'm sorry if it's been done, but I swear he knows, in fact, of this group, because it's like Duffman did the SBT hill climb. Duffman won the costume competition. Duffman won his amount of his weight and mates of beer, and Duffman donated all of it to the people attending the gravel as spectators or competitors. Like, the guy is just absolutely feeding it. Really enjoy it.
Do we know what the sneak peek that we got where he's covering something with something, what that is yet? Do we know what that is yet? Do you know what that's for?
Great audio content, Freya. Have absolutely no clue. Jeez. Oh, hang on. Just let me use this app that I can go onto Instagram and, hey, can you remove this cover of this thing? No, absolutely no. Have you got any guesses?
I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be gin related, although Oath is a very, like, it's very minimalist, very chic marketing otherwise. So I'm not sure it really fits with that brand. So that's what makes me say maybe not that. So maybe something more cycling related, but or just for their own private collection.
It'll be another Canyon Special Edition VB77 bike, which will cost many, many thousands of your best dollary dues. Campy.
Worth it.
Yes,
whilst you're still moving in a frame and we can talk to you at this point, you've come in and out of the session so many times. Let's talk about Felipe Massa very quickly, because we spoke about this a couple of months ago that he was exploring options to reclaim his 2008 championship hopes. He's now seeking compensation, apparently, for the loss of that. Where does all of this sit with the F1 profit?
Not good. We spoke about it, and this is referring to the 2008 incident, Crashgate, where it was Fernando Alonso's teammate who crashed at a perfectly opportune time so that Fernando could get the pit stop and do a massive undercut and come out in front. Now, the problem I have with this is if Felipe had to finish second in the race and then gone on, I can kind of understand where he's coming from. But when incidents happen and he pitted and Ferrari, once again, same old, stuffed up the pit stop, like royally stuffed it up and put him so far out of position, and he would have lost the race anyway. So that's my problem with this whole situation. Whether he gets compensation or I don't think so. It's not a good look for him. I don't think. That's just a bit of a sore loser. And we're 15 years down the track from when it happens. Just move on. I understand that it's a world championship, but in everybody's mind, you will never be a world champion. So suck it up, mate. The whole paddock love you. I remember those scenes from your last race in Brazil before you retired the second time. Was utterly amazing. Came out, walked down the pits, everyone cheered you. It was awesome. Just move on. This is not a good look for you and all the sport.
Yeah, Freya, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, to be so far down the track and to really be considering these options. He is absolutely very much loved person in the F1 paddock still does a lot of presenting and that kind of stuff. Is it really worth him chasing this?
He obviously feels that it is, and I think that what is interesting to me is how quickly it did actually come about after Bernie made his comments, which is obviously what has fueled this kind of renewed attention on it, because he basically said that, yeah, we knew, but we didn't do anything about it until, the date had slipped, whereby it becomes too late to put it in a complaint and make any changes about it. And the reason for that is that it means that he has been sitting on it and thinking about it and he hasn't dealt with it. It means that, someone so quickly to then say, right, we're acting on that. I would say that it's something that he has probably never quite dealt with, knew something went on there, as we all did, but hadn't actually heard somebody say, yeah, we knew, and didn't do anything about it. And so it's something he always hasn't really processed. And I think there's two things here. One is the compensation component, which I don't think is motivation enough. I don't think that's what this is really about. The other part of it is recognition about the fact that if not for unlawful acts, he would have been awarded the 2008 championship. Now, we might not necessarily agree with that statement, but that is how he feels. And there are very few greater motivators than a sense of injustice, that sense of being wronged when you see something that's wrong happen in front of you. You look at road rage incidents, it's the same thing where like someone else does something and you're there following the rules. It drives you absolutely bonkers. And that is, I think, the motivation here. He wants to be recognised as the rightful winner of that season. I think the compensation is kind of by the by, to be entirely honest. But anyway, so what has happened at this point is that they submitted the letter before the claims that goes to Stefano Domenicali as well as the FIA president. And basically they submit that before they go to court proceedings, and they have 14 days to provide a response. And if that's not satisfactory, then they go to the next stage. But I think at the heart of all of this is somebody who feels incredibly wronged and who hasn't processed that and wants the recognition that he feels is due.
Yeah,
good point. But I feel wronged about the way McLaren treated Danny Rick, and I want them to change it. So I'm going to launch legal action. Just because you feel a certain way and there was some injustice there doesn't mean that the whole world has to then move on and give you what you want to make you feel better. Give me a fucking break. Life has its challenges and its stuff, and there's injustices. Suck it up, move on for the betterment of everybody else. I feel wrong that we're even having this conversation.
Is well, you are on an F1 podcast, Campy, so deal with it. This is the news this week. You can go and talk about something else if you want. But I don't disagree necessarily in that. I don't necessarily agree, actually, that this is the right move. I think he'd be better off talking to somebody about this and processing that pain that he obviously experiences.
Yeah.
But I think what is hilarious is that, Lewis Hamilton, he's in for Abu Dhabi. He has going to have to do the same thing. He's not going to go back on that and say, and then obviously they had their process after that. But every single one of these drivers is going to have a day where something didn't go in their favour. It could be interpretation of the rules. It could have been how something was applied and the discretion with which that was applied. It could be the steward's decision on the day. It could be this, that, and the other. Of course, this was a bit different, I think, because there was premeditated plans to, do something that was going to benefit another driver. So it is on a different scale, I think. But by the end of a championship, you're not going to have a single driver who hasn't been affected by something like this in some way. So if maybe in 10 years' time, he can sit down and have a cup of tea with Lewis and they can talk about their shared injustices.
Or maybe Ferrari got a pit stop right at World Championship. I think that's the biggest thing.
Are they going to take another World Championship off Lewis Hamilton? I don't think so. They've already done it once. And to Lewis's credit, the way he has handled that has been exceptional, in the sense that we all know what he's feeling and we all know the injustice. Toto made some comments about it last week, a couple of months ago, sorry, albeit not complaining, just the fire in his belly that came after that to get back to the top and get Lewis another world championship. But the way he's handled's been excellent. He's bottled it up and he hasn't talked about it publicly. He's kept it to himself. I'm sure there is a raft of emotions that he feels about.
To be clear, we are not recommending that when somebody suffers something that's really painful that they bottle it up and don't talk about it. That's really not what we're encouraging.
No,
here.
but sorry.
I do agree that. No, I get where you're coming from. That it's that idea of saying sense. He's dealing with it privately. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Right. Good. Same time next week for the next session.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. We'll talk. There's not a lot of movement in the. What is this then? Let's keep moving. The driver market, nothing is happening. We spoke a little bit about it last week, Campy, in terms of some rumours. What there is, though, is some movement potentially in the team market. Now, there is an understanding, apparently, that high-tech GP of F2 and F3 fame and Andretti have joined forces to get together to try or to put a submission together to Formula One, or to the FIA, I should say, to be accepted to have a Formula One team. Now, the way that this works is that there's a whole list of criteria that the FIA need to tick off to make sure that these parties can actually put a Formula One team together. And if the FIA grant approval, then it's up to F1 to grant approval. And Campy, let's be honest, that approval will never, ever happen, will it?
No, I think F1 at the top has made decisions around who they want in the sport and who they don't want in the sport. We've heard, and I talk about Audi and possibly Porsche coming in. That's the direction which they're going. They want bona fide manufacturers. They don't want teams like Williams, who are independent teams, coming in anymore. Now, Andretti has been trying to make some moves for a long time to get into the sport for the last 3 or 4 years, and I think this is strategic on their part, who does deal with the F1 and the FIA all the time because they race in F2 and F3 and they have the relationships in the paddock. So they're trying to get them in there to, massage the conversations a bit more. And okay, so we won't come in just all by ourselves. We'll come in with someone who's existing that you have relationships with, and we'll go from there. But I thought there was a $500,000 buy-in that that they announced for any new teams coming onto the grid before 2026, I believe it was a few years ago. That was part of the new bargaining agreement they had within the sport. So, I mean, that's a big outlay of money just to get your spot, let alone the infrastructure you need to build and grow off. But the other thing too, it's good for high-tech GP too as well, because they can then, they can use that investment, they can build up their junior teams, get better drivers, all that stuff, and then make the jump into F1. So I don't mind them trying it. I don't mind them coming in, but this is one of those sports really that is ruled from the top, and if you don't meet the criteria in any way, they will just walk away from you. And that's a shame, but that's just the reality of it. They've got a brand to protect.
Freya, there's been so many comments from team principals about how they don't want to dilute this prize money and how it's very expensive to run Formula One teams and all that sort of other stuff. We can only imagine that there will be a significant pushback from them to Formula One, which would sort of force their hand to say no to a team like this.
And there's also the logistical considerations as well. Can you fit the extra drivers in the pit lane in various places? We're about to go to a track which I think has the shortest pit lane of the season, basically. And how is that going to work? So I think there's a lot of considerations where they are also thinking about the practicality of the weekend and how it works and if it's even safe. I think we all want to see more seats because we want more drivers to get drives and to have a Formula One career. I don't think there's anybody who's arguing that side of things. There's so many wonderful drivers who are not going to get their chance in this racing series, but there is a lot more to it than just saying, yeah, let's just get another team in, because the tracks aren't built for that, for that. Now, it doesn't mean you can't change things. But there's going to be a very big resistance, I think, especially from the existing teams. And some of that is, like I said, logistical, safety, whatnot. And then you've got the more selfish, I want to say, motivations around what does that mean for us? What does that mean to the prize money? What does that mean? They're going to come in and build these amazing new facilities while I'm stuck with my old ones and I can't expand them because of the cost cap. Like, how is that going to work? There's going to be a lot of pushbacks for lots of reasons. So I struggle to see it getting across the line anytime soon.
Yeah, there'll be some kind of announcement, from what I'm told, in the next couple of weeks, probably about the fact that they've been granted permission to enter, but commercially they haven't been given an opportunity to. I mean, they could then go onto the track and race a Formula One event. They just wouldn't ever be televised, and it would just be an absolute mess in how to sort it out. I think you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, things have changed so much in Formula One. You look back when Haas entered the sport, everyone was flailing around the place. Williams was really struggling. Marussia fell off. A whole bunch of other teams had gone. They'd came in and everyone was wondering if they'd stay or survive. They have, and now the team would be worth quite a lot more money, I imagine. So I think if Andretti wanted into the sport, which obviously he really, really does, the way to that would be to purchase an existing team. At least there is now one potentially on the market in Alpine. It'd be interesting to see that. Freya, you're Dutch. What's going on with these flares at Zandvoort, and can we actually see the track this weekend?
So apparently what you should say to somebody who pulls out a flare is, come on, guy, this is dangerous for my health. So they have said...
Exactly like that.
That's going to work. Have you met Max fans? So they have said, the race director has said that they are trying to crack down on flares this year. There's two things they're looking at. One is trying to crack down on flares, and the other one is talking about trying to be more inclusive and a safer race location, which I'll get to in a second. But from the flares perspective, that is what they've said. So I think what they thought initially was that when people showed up with flares, they saw themselves as a really good fan. I'm the best supporter out there because I brought a flare and look how much I love Max Verstappen. What they're trying to say is, no, that makes you really annoying because people can't see anything. People can't breathe. It's really dangerous. During the outlap, was it 2 years ago, the formation lap, and someone threw a flare onto the track. So then they had to have various protocols in place for that. Which is going to disrupt your racing. So, no, you're not cool if you bring a flare. But I just love the fact that is what they think should be your response. So, I think it was something along the lines of, we now know that it's really dangerous and it's not good for your health. And we have to inform people that you're not a good fan if you have a flare. You're a good fan if you don't have a flare. And if you see a flare, you say, come on, guy, this is dangerous for my health.
All right. We've just had an incident in Melbourne with a sporting event with flares, and it was with the Matildas in their World Cup semi-final. And so anyway, we're at Federation Square. It was on a big screen and in Melbourne, and fans bought the flares. Blah blah. The police reaction was to say, "Oh, we're not going to televise the game on Saturday night now because of the behaviour of a few people with flares." In Europe, it is God's given right to take flares to a sporting event. Everybody does it. Now, if somebody tells me to not take a flare to an event and you're a bad guy, I'm taking more flares just to give them the shit. Look, the problem is you cannot live in a nanny state of overburden and control in order to stop people from having fun. If you don't like it, go and stand somewhere where there's not flares. Have like a tiny little safe space for your designated flare zone. Exactly.
Impossible in the Dutch Grand Prix. It's just all it is.
Campy is the reason that we can't have nice things.
That is true. But also,
you can blame me
also
all you
from
want,
just like a watching it point of view, trying to watch that race is impossible. I'm just,
awesome.
if you can't see anything because there's so much flare smoke, like, what's the point? Who cares? Whatever. Like, okay, fantastic Dutch Grand Prix. Well done. No one gives a crap. Your track's fairly average and no one can see it anyway.
The other thing that they are trying to improve at the circuit this year, which I think is good, is talking about trying to make it more inclusive. So I think the one thing here is obviously it is going to be very Max heavy in its supporters. And they've actually said that a lot of people who are going in their Ferrari supporters, their Mercedes supporters, whatever, don't actually feel that safe going to the race.
Yeah.
And I think that's when things go too far. And that's going to affect it probably wouldn't, actually that's not true. It probably wouldn't affect their ticket sales because they have enough Max fans to fill the grandstands. Yeah. But it's still unfortunate. And then the thing is that the outcome of that is that drivers don't want to go there anyway. So they're trying to put in place some like various initiatives to try and make it a bit safer for everybody. And then also when it comes to harassment and things like that, because they have had a few incidences at this circuit before. They've got designated locations at the circuit for people who are reporting any instances of abuse or harassment and that type of thing. And they've been working alongside Austria as well, because obviously they've had their own issues, as well as the Belgian and Spanish Grand Prix as a bit of a working group to kind of say, like, how do we try and reduce that kind of antisocial behaviour at tracks so that everyone can come and watch. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm just glad to hear that it's on their agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, guys. It's not the NRL. This is Formula One. Let's be better about it. We're going to go to an ad break. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, let's do a track preview. Campy, where does this Zandvoort track rank for you in the Grand Prix circuit?
Top 10 of where we're going this year. So I like the bank corners. I cannot wait to hear what percentage grade those banking turns are on this year. I can't remember from last year, but yeah, it's great. It's a bit tight.
You'll be told.
It's a bit tight, and it's not as. I love the openness and the long straights of Spa with the incredibly challenging corners. This is probably the complete opposite. This is a bit more of a Monaco type track, but a bit longer in its layout. So yeah, I really like it. I think it's a good spectacle. I think the fans are incredible getting around Max. I don't think it's a track we need to go to on F1. I think it's one of these tracks that was probably great in yesteryear. Not that I remember those races, but it's just one that the cars have outperformed. And as the cars get bigger and they get faster, it doesn't bring out the best racing on this track. But I still like it. It's a great spectacle. Looks great. There's a few, particularly over the back, where you come down that hill and do a little hairpin, turn around. I think it's great. So lap one's always good on those bank corners. You try and get the inside or outside, bit NASCAR-esque, which is good. So bring it on. I'm up for it.
In future episodes, Campy, I want you to talk us through a whole lap of the circuit that we're going to with your descriptions of things. Yeah. Martin Brundle, take a lesson, sit down and listen to how Campy does it. That was beautiful. A little hairpin turning around back on itself.
Should I talk about how you made me feel now, Jim? And how we could change that?
Yeah. Careful, I'll bring out a flare. Freya. What are your memories of Zandvoort?
What are my memories of Zandvoort? I can't remember anything. It's just orange mist.
That's right.
But to quickly answer Campy's question, so apparently when it came back to the calendar in 2020, it was angled at 32%, which was 18 degrees, which is twice as steep as Indy. So, yeah, that's some white knuckle stuff. But I think when we think about last year's race here, we had lots of good action on track. This isn't one that I kind of instantly think of as one of my favourites. But when I look back to last year's race, for example, we had some interesting moments of people kind of coming back out of the pit lane, and there was a lot of strategy involved. And I think you see people here win on strategy because of the nature of the track. Like you said, Campy being a bit more Monaco-esque, it does make strategy very interesting and important. And we saw that here last year. Last year we had K-Mag oversteering into gravel and barriers. So he's, not necessarily having the greatest season. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes here and if he's feeling recharged after the summer break. If I see that on one more social media post, I swear to God, I will get rid of all of their batteries. But we also had some good moments. We had Lewis and Perez have a bit of a battle here, as well as Lewis and Verstappen at moments. We had Yuki's weird tyre thing last year. He came in and pitted. They sent him out and he was like, "There's something wrong with my tyres." And they were like, "Yeah, pull over, stop now." And they're like, "No, it's fine." And then he kept going, which was very bizarre. George nearly ran into the back of Lewis as well. Very reminiscent of that social media comment that you had mentioned earlier, James. But yeah, it was an interesting race here last year. So I'm looking forward to it. It's not in my top 10, but now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it should be.
I like how Campy said it's in his top 10 and then said, I don't think it should be on the Formula One calendar, meaning that there are 14 tracks too many. which is probably not an unfair
Lewis
statement.
should have won
to be honest.
last year too, from memory. He got robbed because of safety flags, which meant Max could hit.
Yeah, Max pitted, but then he wasn't even on the podium. It was Verstappen, Russell, and Leclerc. Like he didn't even podium last year.
Yeah. He was in
talking
front
about
anyway.
Talking about podiums, let's see our predictions ahead of the Dutch Grand Prix and how on it we are. We're going to start with the F1 prophet, self-proclaimed, I should add. Now, Campy, I want your front row for qualifying. So who's put it on pole and who's in second? Who are your top three for the podium for the race, so the podium, and then who's finishing in 10th?
All right, we're going front row is going to be Max and Carlos.
Interesting.
Carlos to bounce back from just the pressure he's starting to feel in the media and the reporting around his seat moving forward. Top three will be Max, Lewis, and Checo, and 10th will be Danny Rick.
In
or
the points,
Yuki
I like
Tsunoda,
it.
but it'll be Danny Rick.
The fast AlphaTauri. Freya, who's your front row podium and who's coming in 10th?
Not just because I love an alliteration, but we're going to have Lewis and Leclerc locking out the front row. I think that Lewis has done well on this track. I think he likes it, despite it being so Max preferred. And Leclerc, while he will start on the front row in P2, will not be on the podium, obviously, because it's Ferrari.
True strategy.
So moving on to the podium, I think Max is going to win. Original, I know.
Wow.
And hey, we've already done our bold predictions. Russell in second and Piastri in third. I think he's going to get his first podium here. It'll be a third, but he'll get it done. And then 10th, I'm going to say Yuki because DR is going to be in 8th.
Ooh, okay.
Last is going to be
that.
Logan. Sorry, mate.
Okay, my front row will be Max and Oscar. I think Oscar is going to absolutely dominate Lando in the second half of this season. Am I saying that because I'm Australian? Yes. And am I also saying that because he's quick? Yes.
Yes.
Podium
Also,
will be Max, Oscar, and Carlos because I'm with you, Campy. I think there will be some sorry, Freya, some recharge of Carlos's batteries.
You're out. You're voted out. You voted off the island.
Full
This is now my
depletion of battery.
podcast.
And look, I think it'll be good for him just to get a result over Charles. And 10th, I'm going to put Valtteri because the guy needs some points. I just don't think the cars ahead of him are really going to, unless someone has a significant failure, I don't think there's going to be too many options for that kind of, considering you've got Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, Aston Martin and Red Bull. We spoke about this last week. That'll be the top 10 anyway. So let's go Valtteri. Let's take that Duffman attitude and have all of the beer for all of the Dutch fans as you finish. Well, that's it for this episode of Lakeside Drive. Thank you so much for listening. Freya, thank you.
Anytime. Not anytime, but sometimes.
Specifically at this point, once a week. Campy,
Yes.
Thank you, the F1 self-proclaimed prophet. I am looking forward to your pre-recorded voiceover and outros for the next episode.
Looking forward to it too, as you should be listening.
High energy.
I don't believe
I'll
you.
do one at this side. I'll do one, which will be recorded as separate to this. So thank you so much for listening. We'll see you very soon.